I apologize there, folks, that we had a little bit of an error. Apparently, it decided to crash out on us. Um, some kind of memory loss situation.
A little weird.
A little weird. Uh, so yeah, we're gonna be talking all about Necrons today. We got lots of Necrons on Tabletop Simulator that we're going to be showing off, but also mostly talking about the old Necrons, how they worked, what was good, what competitive lists were functioning for them really, really well. Eric knows a lot about that stuff, so he's going to be going over a lot of that. I'm going to be piping in as well, especially about how to beat Necrons, what was the most effective way to kind of trounce them, get them down. For you with your armies, and then we're going to talk a little bit about the future and what we think is coming with the new codex, new models, etc. for Necrons. So with that, I'm going to let you go ahead and start us off here, Eric, while I try and fix some of this other stuff. Tell us about Necrons.
So, a lot of us know that Necrons are these cool little robot dudes. Um, they've been around since the tail end of third edition. They came out in a chapter approved codex. Back then, that was actually the army I started getting competitive with. Back when destroyers were units of five, similar to what they are now, but they once you killed a destroyer, the warrior would pop off and have to walk across the board to join up to another unit of warriors or the closest unit. And scarabs would blow up with small blast markers. But yeah, they've evolved quite a bit. The current competitors is seeing a little diversity, and they're not a whole lot. I think that's the sad part about Necrons right now is they're kind of mono build in order to be effective. Um, I think there's some potential of going different ways, but going into a more assault based style, I think you're going to end up spending a little bit more money, especially with flayed ones only being five to a box and $50 a pop. So it adds up real quick when you're trying to run 60 flayed ones in a game. But like the current thing that they've got going on, their dynasties. Uh, there are five of them. Each one does a little bit different ability, just kind of like your Space Marine legions. They have Saw Tech, which allows you to advance and shoot all weapons as if they were assault. So if it's heavy weapon becomes assault, rapid fire becomes assault. They still stick with the same number of shots. So if it's D3 or D6, those all stay the same too. And the other thing that they gave is if you're shooting heavy weapons and you're not advancing, you count as being stationary for those, which is pretty sweet for some of those D6 shots,
Yep.
uh, like on the Doom Scythes and the Doomsday Arcs. The other popular one is Mephrit right now, which is if you're within half range, you get an additional neg 1 AP to all your shooting. It's all right. I don't know if you necessarily need it. Um, I think that's why people are running their multiple battalions and or detachments in different dynasties. That way, you can get a little bit of perks out of different things. So, like your basic battalion is going to be Mephret, while your Outrider detachment or your the Supreme. Oh gosh, what am I thinking of? Brain fart here. Uh, the heavy support one. Can't even think of it. Um,
I don't know enough hand.
the they'll have those in Sawtech. Uh,
That's cool.
yeah, the other two are kind of, or the other three aren't really used often. I think out of the 2.5 years this book's been out, I've only seen them used once out of each one. One of them is the Nephric, which allows units to automatically advance 6 inches, and if they have My Will Be Done or Wave of Command stratagem, they can move 7, which is all right if you're using the strat for running and charging for a unit. It makes sense, but again, if you're building off of it and you're only allowing it, you have one time to advance and charge, the rest of your army isn't doing what it should be doing. So I think that's one of the reasons why you're not seeing that too much. You have the Nihilic, which is reroll ones, as long as, or in the shooting phase, as well as Overwatch, as long as they haven't moved in the previous movement phase. You've always got to be moving your Necrons. So they have such short range or medium range with their 26 to max, I think, is 36 on all their stuff.
Yeah,
they might have
much.
a couple of guns that have 48, but you've always got to be moving. And especially with them not having stuff like the bolter discipline and all that, they're just going to get shot off the table going toe to toe with most Marines. And then the last one, which was the most intriguing for me, is the Navak, which is reroll all failed hit rolls when you charged, or performed a heroic intervention. But so those,
and that's because you're using a more melee army, obviously.
yeah, I've always been drawn to melee. So
For Necrons specifically, or just always in general?
in general, so the only time I've ever played a shooting army, a static shooting army, is going to be my Eldar. But I haven't played them since 8th edition came out. I mean, they were a powerhouse in 7th, and when they first came out in 8th, I felt even more dirty playing them with all the no limitations to how many units you could have. So they got benched, and I went back to playing my assault armies like my Slanesh and Khorne.
Cool.
But yeah, they've
So real quick though, what of those whatever cryptics or whatever the heck they are, which one do you think would be the shooty one then? Like which one do you see most commonly with the shooting?
The two you'll see is the Sawtech and Mefric. The Sawtech's going to be, like I said, used for the Doomsday Arcs, and the Knights or the Doom Scythes for the heavy D6 and D3 shots with their strength 10 gun.
Okay.
And the Mefric's going to be for your warriors and immortals and things like that, are going to be all slog. Yeah, yeah. If you're doing Silver Tide, which is not as popular right now, just because leadership is still an issue with them. Seeing that you can only save one unit per turn, and with only a 4-up save on your basic troops, they seem to whittle pretty quick, and then you're pulling more for the casualties, and you can't reanimation protocol them back.
Right.
So that's their big downfall with the Silver Tide right now.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. But yeah, they have several different HQ choices. You know, they got a bunch of named characters. Some are definitely better than others. You got Emitek, which is used often, I think. He's got his own little lightning ability, which is neat. All the lords have My Will Be Done, which allows you to pick a unit and basically add one of their hit rolls, which is nice for the Immortals weapons, allowing them to explode and get extra hits on 5s instead of 6s. And I think there's another way to do it where you can get it down to exploding on 4s. I can't fully remember that one though. But I think Immortals are good. I think your standard list that you're seeing right now has got 2 units of Warriors, a unit of Immortals, 3 Doom Scythes, and 3 Doomsday Arcs. And you're either playing with 2 units of Destroyers, or you're going with 3 of the Forge World orb things. They're gosh, what are they called? The Tesseract Arcs.
Yeah, well, I've seen the ones with the flyers too, the Knights of the Doom Size, where you're doing the triples for the power up.
Yeah, you do. Thingy. Yeah, the 1 CP to link them together to pick a point and do D3 or 3D3 mortal wounds. That's gross. If you ball up and you catch your opponent off guard on that, it can be devastating, especially for some of these armies like Chaos now with their possessed bomb, where you all of a sudden pick a point next to the possessed, and everything off of there is taking mortals and you're popping off a lot of their support
Right.
HQs that are buffing up. I mean, it can be devastating pretty quickly.
Oh, easily, yeah, for sure. I agree.
So yeah, I think that's one of the easiest ways to beat that list is pop one of the flyers and
Oh
you
yeah,
don't have to
so
worry about that.
I actually played that list at Buckeye last year, and the guy was playing the Necrons, and he had that, and I hid half my army behind buildings where couldn't get line of sight, and since it's a line of sight based ability, and then as soon as it was my turn, because I had second turn, I just popped out from behind all the buildings and stuff, and I had everything else pretty much spread out where he could do like, oh, I can kill one venom, like whatever.
Yeah, and
So
it's stuff you're not worried about. Yeah,
yeah,
I've
just crap I don't care about. And then so he popped off his thing, killed. I think he did kill one venom with it, and then I just popped everything out from behind the buildings and just shot the bejesus out of him and killed one of them. And then that, they're very vulnerable to that. I think Necrons are very vulnerable in general right now, which
yeah,
I'm
that
sure will not be the case soon.
no, I think they're a little on the weak side right now, with not having really proper screens. I mean, their screens are their troops, and you kind of need your troops to do what
Their
they need to
troops are too
do.
expensive.
Yeah, and I mean, I think they're 11 points a pop right now,
Yeah.
which isn't
But
terrible,
to use a
but
screen, right? Like, so you're looking at like
yeah,
compare
it's
that to Imperium or Chaos or whatever. So you got cultists and guardsmen that you can just throw out there for 3, 4, 5 points, whatever, for
yeah, compared
most
to the 11.
armies. And then yeah, I mean even orc boys are what, like six, four, five,
Yeah,
five,
five or
six.
six. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
they're 5 or 6 right
I
now,
mean, you
but
can just screen so well with so many armies because of that cheapness. That the base Necron, and I get that they're a lot better, but you're just losing those guys with that many points is really tough.
yeah, and with the boys, they don't have to worry about leaderships like the Necrons do, which is, I mean, yeah, you lose 20 dudes, you're still leadership 30 off your war boss.
Right.
They don't have anything like that. They have nothing to make them fearless. They're lead 10, but lead 10's always failable. I mean,
Yeah.
we've
Well,
seen it
especially,
multiple
I mean,
times.
especially since everybody's realized that the way to beat Necrons is focus down their blobs. So
Yeah,
you
you
got a
pick on a
20
squad at
20
a
man
time.
warrior blob. Great, I'm gonna kill 10 of them, and then you're gonna fail your morale for sure. And that's the way you just whittle. Okay, focus down. It's a focus fire army.
Yeah, and I think that's some of the downfall that they have is they have very specialized units, but they require you to use stratagems to really make them work well. And I also feel that you have to double up on a lot of the units, whether they be wraiths and fighting twice or whatever, or the run and charge or the destroyers with the reroll all to hit and wound. You can't do it to both units. So I feel like you're sinking a lot of points to do too much and you're getting little return with it.
Yeah.
So that's one of my biggest downfalls right now, and I'm hoping that with this new codex and all these new models that there's a lot more viability with them. I definitely think we're going to see some changes as well as far as meta and looking at that. And
Yeah. No question.
I'm excited to see what they do for them. I mean,
They've been
yeah,
a pretty lower tier even through seventh. They were not really like a great army. So and they've dealt with being kind of a low mid tier army now for all of eighth. So I have no problem with them bouncing back to they're gonna come to the top. You look at all the
exactly.
new models they're getting and stuff, it's gonna happen. They're
Yeah,
just
like
like just the creep is coming.
yeah, they were decent in fourth edition. They were really good in fourth with all the um, auto glancing on sixes, and fourth edition. That's how you blew up vehicles. You just had to glance it and then roll another die to
Right.
have the vehicle damage, whether it be it's not shooting or it's not moving or shooting, or you blow it up.
Yeah.
So and things fell pretty quick. And fifth edition, they got kind of a little sour for me. They didn't really play right. They were a little lackluster. And six came out, and six they were good because that's when you had an entire army that could fly around the table. So people were running 9 night scythes and 3 doom scythes. I mean, it was just insane to see that's what they the flying croissants is what they how they got their name then. Uh, and then seventh they kind of fell short again, and eighth they've kind of again they've been a little lackluster, and uh,
Yeah, I think they just haven't kept up since indexes. Indexes they were fine, and
yeah,
then
they're
since
exactly.
the end of their codex just was not impressive. like many of the other ones were. So they didn't ever have their time to shine, like like the obviously the Knights did, most of the Eldar did. Even like Tau, now are super strong right at the moment with their
Yeah,
codex releases and stuff like that, and changes and things. So like I just think that most of the Xenos in general have all gotten at least some point to shine, even if they have gone back down towards the bottom afterwards. And Necrons have just never really risen to the top in eighth. I think they did a, I think they did an okay job with their codex in eighth, but they don't think they did like a power creep one. Like
yeah,
you
exactly.
can't do everybody else with a power creep and then just leave the one army that was okay before still okay, and so
Yeah, like they didn't really add much to them. Yeah, they got their strats, but again, it's just everybody else had the same strats, so it's not like they got anything that made them
yeah, I don't even
that
remember.
much
I can't even
better.
think of really any greatly unique ones other than that mortal wound one with the doomsday, and then the requirement of three of the planes. Like maybe if they made it like one plane can do that strat and do that same thing, but like one die three.
Yeah, yes,
Two planes makes it two die three to a maximum of three die three with three planes within say 12 inches of each other or something like that. I think that would probably
yeah,
work really well, right?
yeah.
Like I think
Give them like
just
the
give them
fire
variant.
prism rule.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, exactly,
make them like fire
just
prisms. If
make
you're gonna
make
link
them
them
just like
together,
fire prisms.
link them together the right way. Yeah,
Right,
the
and I think that would solve that would solve their issue with that. Where as soon as you kill one plane, all right, that strategy's done. Just go ahead and rip it up and throw it away because it's gone.
yep. Yeah, the yeah. Other than that, I mean, they have their the reanimation protocols is nice, which allows them to after everything has died, at the beginning of your turn, you get to roll out a 5+ and things get back or stand back up. You can get re-rolls to that. You can improve it with res orbs and cryptex and things like that. Um, so there's some perks, and I mean that's what's nice about it. But again, I mean they still fall short with the leadership that you don't get to reanimation if you're running away with leadership. So those guys are just getting pulled, and it's a lot of points to get pulled that way.
Right. And that's the reanimation. Like again, that was super powerful when everybody really didn't completely understand it, and you were fighting a lot of armies by pinging down different things and weakening different units and stuff. As soon as everybody kind of got wind of like, hey, this is how Necrons runs, and if you don't kill the whole unit at a time, don't mess with it, kind of thing. As soon as people
Yep.
just kind of really started to figure out that Necrons took a big hit, I think, because they went from like oh yeah, this reanimation thing's great, and like I have a friend who played Necrons, and he used to do that all the time, where we you ping this unit, hit this unit, hit this unit a little bit, and then everybody in the group realized, all right, just destroy whole units of things, and we can't do that crap anymore. And he got to the point where he's like, I'm done with this freaking Necrons. These are garbage, because he went from competing and at least being competitive to just getting trounced every freaking time.
Yeah. See that was one of the things that I was a little surprised with when they got rid of it in fourth edition. So in fourth, you could still they back then it was we'll be back. It was
Yeah,
their reanimation protocol.
yeah.
And what that was, as long as you had a model with the same name within 6 inches, you could do it again.
And
So you might have killed the unit, but you had another unit of warriors right next to them. They could get up, and then they just joined into that the unit that was still surviving.
right. And if I remember correctly too, that was even in seventh where it was I will be back or whatever, and it was better because even if they died to morale or any reason they died, period, they came back.
Yes, well, and they also, I believe they did it at the end of every phase
Oh yeah, that's
too,
right.
which was
Yeah, yeah,
huge.
yeah. That
That
was
that
pretty
was
balls. I do
Yeah,
recall
that
that.
was nuts when it was like, hey, oh look, you lost some because you ran through difficult terrain. Oh, they all came back. Oh look, now you lost some because we shot at them or whatever. And yeah, you could easily not have to worry about morales and all that doing that way. It was
Yeah,
definitely
nutty.
a lot different game. But I mean that they needed it back in seventh because seventh was
Stupid.
absolutely insane when it came to
Yeah,
you were that was the game of you're either getting rolled or you're rolling somebody.
yeah.
there was
There was no
I don't
middle ground.
no there was not a stuff like now with the ITC and all that, where you're like, oh, we'll just play objectives and not worry about killing each other, and we can just hold hands later.
Right.
Yeah, it was very much how fast can I beat you, and
Oh yeah.
you were out for blood. And it was
Death
bad
Star, Death
blood.
Star. The Necrons had a
Yeah,
good Death Star then, though.
yeah, they still do.
The line of sight thing. I remember my buddy making the Lord with the where he had like a 2 up invulnerable, and then if he was the closest model, you couldn't fire at anybody else, so you just put everybody else behind him, and then you just put the
Yep.
Lord right up in front, just 2 up invulnerable everything, and then he had like some ridiculous like damage reduction or healing. I can't remember which it was, but it was just like, oh, so he's unkillable and he has a 2 up invulnerable. Wow, this is fun.
Yeah, they've got one similar to that now. It's not as broken as it was then. I mean, the Lich Guard are still good. They only have a 4 up invuln. You can spend CP to make him a 3 up, and then you're shooting back mortal wounds, which is nice for every save you make.
Right.
But it's still only 10 guys, so they fall pretty quick with concentrated fire. So it's a lot of bang for your buck. And again, they're running across the table unless you're using like the Veil of Darkness or uh, one of the night scythes to get them across the table. So there's theoretically you could lose them before the game's even started with putting them in night scythes, because if they're in the night scythe and they die, you can't bring them in
Right.
unless there's another night scythe or a monolith. So, and nobody plays monoliths right now there, which is, a little sad. I always enjoyed the monolith. They're just too expensive right now for what little they do.
Right.
Yep.
There you go, guys. I rolled some dice for you.
Yeah.
I actually do like the thing has a crazy dice roller involved in it, and so you pick up the dice and you put it in this little box, and it rolls the dice, and then it feeds out like, oh, this is how many sixes roll, this is how many of everything.
I did see that on that thing. That was actually a pretty impressive feature in Tabletop Simulator. I like that you could say, I need 5 dice and there's 5 dudes. I'm going to multiply it or copy and paste the dice to roll. Yeah,
Yeah,
that was pretty
the
sharp.
scripting, yeah, the scripting is actually really impressive in a lot of these things.
Yeah, I've been watching a couple streams online, just trying to see whether or not I wanted to commit myself into learning how to play it on there, or if I was gonna let it go. And I think I'll be playing it.
Yeah, well, it's neat. So like this particular one, like I'm throwing like 18 dice right now, and it gives you like this is how many sixes, this is how many fives, etc. You can look at them obviously here too, but it just flat out gives you it, which is just makes things a little bit simpler and easier for a program where you're rolling
Yeah.
everything. Did you so you do have that one Necron competitive list that you want to talk about?
So one of our teammates posted it up, and I guess he was having some issues with it as far as playing and beating it. And it was I have it pulled up. It's a airwing detachment using Sawtech with 3 Doom Scythes.
Okay, so 3 Doomsays. Let me grab those. Bang, bang, bang. Okay.
Yeah, then you've got an Outrider detachment with looks like a Lord on foot, an Overlord with Veil of Darkness, and 2 units of is it 5 destroyers? Yeah, 2 units of 5 destroyers, and one of them has a heavy destroyer in it. So 1 unit is a unit of 6.
All right, all right. I don't think I have an Overlord model, so this guy's gonna be my Overlord model for the moment.
And then it's got
No, sorry. What was the other thing? The Lords, and then what?
it has a squad of 5 destroyers, and then another squad of 5 destroyers, and one with a heavy destroyer. If that makes sense. So one of the squads is a squad of 6.
Yeah. Just gotta find destroyers in here. Maybe in the other group. Yep. There we are.
And it's got 9 Tomb Blades.
All right. Hang on. So 3 sets of 5 destroyers.
2.
Two with one with 6.
Yep.
Oop. You can talk about the list more. I shot a guy
All
off the
right.
table. All right, he's back.
Flipping tables. Yeah, it's got the 9 Tomb Blades, all with double carbines. Uh, then it's got a Cryptek and 3 Doomsday Arcs, and that's the list. So it's a very static what you expect to see at a level of competitive play out of Necrons right now.
Right. Okay. And so, did he say like what he was having issues with it particularly, or just we're gonna go? You want to go through how you would defeat this?
I'm not sure how he was having issues. I know he's playing orcs. That's as much as I know. Um, I guess he's played it 3 times in the last week or whatever, and has lost to it all 3 times. Was what he was saying in our Discord. But I know from a competitor standpoint, obviously the main thing you got to worry about is stacking your stuff up and making sure that you're not taking your 3d3 mortal wounds from those
Mm-hmm.
the
Doom
doom
scythe.
scythes. Just because that's nasty. I mean, when you have a potential of putting 9 mortal wounds onto a vehicle, and some of these smaller vehicles like the orc uh, shock attack guns or whatever they're called only have 6 or 7 wounds, so you can pop those off in one volley of shot, and for 1 CP, you're killing 3 or 4 of them. It can be devastating.
Right.
Um, the you got the Doomsday Arcs, are a pain in the butt just because they have the quantum shielding, which is if you roll under the damage roll of your opponent for if it's multiple damage, say they roll a 6 and you roll a 5,
Mm-hmm.
you're not taking any damage. So as long as you're rolling under it, you're doing all right. And there's a stratagem that allows you to do it if you equal your opponent too. So if they roll a say 4 damage and you roll a 4, you can still ignore that too. So you have to have lots of firepower that is only doing 1 to 2 damage at a time to chew through the 14 wounds
Right.
that the Doomsday Arcs have. Otherwise, they're just going to bounce all your big shots, which is irritating.
Or you just
Uh,
ignore them until you deal with everything else,
yes, yeah. I mean,
which
it
is
is
allowing them to
D6
go
shots.
ham. So.
Yeah, you're dealing with, I mean, D6 shots per. So, I mean, you're averaging 10 shots or 10.5 shots. They're hitting on threes. Their strength 10, which is gross. Or no, they're only strength 8. Strength 8, neg 2, D3 damage for the lower profile. Or they have the higher one at strength 10, neg 5, D6 damage.
Mm-hmm.
So they can fire that one only if they've remained stationary, which if you're running the saw attack, you can move and count as being stationary. So you can always shoot the big profile. Um, and then they have their the gauze flares on the side, which is a lot of shots. I mean, you're talking they have 2 sets of them. So if they're at rapid fire range, it's 20 shots or 10 shots at 24 inches. So they can pop off some shots, and it's hard to just let those go, especially playing as an orc and only having a 6+ save. They'll kill a good number of boys before you get there. I get that, but yeah, they're the main thing to worry about is the getting rid of at least one of the flyers at that point.
Yeah, I can see why he might have a tough time with that though, depending on what he's running on his list,
Yeah,
because because orcs are going to struggle against air a little bit, depending on if they have their anti-air stuff.
yeah. You say they'll struggle with that. They'll struggle with um, the destroyers are just going to chew through whatever it's coming up the
The
grill. I
path,
mean,
yeah.
yeah, especially if you got your mega knobs and all that. I mean, they're the destroyers are going to eat those.
Okay, so what do you? So let's okay. So let's say we focus down one of the planes. So you're saying focus down the plane. What are you dealing with after that? Since obviously the other 2 planes really aren't that big of a concern at that
Yeah,
point.
yeah. The main thing then is just getting locked in combat.
Right.
As far as you're probably your standard orc is going to have what the in a competitive play. If we're sticking at that level, you've got your 18 shock attack guns. So
Right.
that's enough to deal with the destroyers.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if we're going competitive on competitive here, um, the uh, let the planes just do their thing. I mean, if you can kill one of them, cool. If not, whatever. At that point, with that many guys, because I mean, you're still talking. Some of the competitive styles are either going to have 90 storm boys and a bunch of shooter boys on top of that, or they're going to have 280 grots. So those are like the two big lists out right now. The grots is what was strong back in ATC last year.
Yeah.
Just because that was the army that legitimately was like, okay, ATC when you do it, for those that don't know, is it's a team of 5 versus team of 5, and your captains go up, basically flip a coin, and one of the captains says, okay, I'm bidding this army, and then that person, the other captain, picks an army of their 5 players to play against it, and then puts up another army of theirs, and then they go back and forth that way. So then the other person, captain, places to fight. So the first, basically one of the games is you're looking for a draw. You're making it so it's one of the hardest armies to play against. You're not going to table them. Tabling 300 grots in a game, that's difficult. I mean, especially when you start talking, people are got to move things. And,
Yeah.
I have seen it done. It was done last year at, the Jason Snagowski was playing his Tau, and I believe he was playing Capano, and tabled that list, which I was very impressed with. But it took time, and I mean, granted, Tau is going to be the one army to shoot that many grots off the table that fast.
Right.
So, but yeah, I think a lot of it. I think you got to get back into combat. You've got to play it just like I've discussed before, as far as you don't want to kill things. Like you just want to get in, try point them at the squad in, so they're locked in combat, and kill them on their turn. That way, you're mitigating all their firepower.
Right.
You're mitigating their movement.
Are the destroyers? I'm trying to remember. Do destroyers and tomb blades? Do they have the fly rule? I think they do, don't they?
They do have the fly rule,
Yeah. So those
but
are just
again,
unlockable, really.
yeah, those are the things that if your shock attack guns and all your heavy artillery and stuff should be shooting more at those than anything. The tomb blades are just gonna mow through squads.
Yeah.
You start talking, my will be dunning them, and they're already at 60 shots per the unit. I mean, it's just an ungodly amount of shooting firepower in those tomb blades.
Right.
And they all have reanimation protocols and all that too, so they're getting back up on 5s and 4s in certain places, and spending CP to get them up again if you fail it with the special orbs and the eternal orb or whatever, if you're using that. And the veil is there as a backup as well on that list, as far as, hey, all right, you've locked something in, I'm pulling them out of combat because I can't be in combat.
And this list has no warriors?
I don't think it did.
Not from what I remember anyway. Because I was just, I mean, cause like obviously you have these tougher units and stuff like
No,
that with the fly. I see why he's having problems with this, because he can't lock anything.
there's nothing you can lock. Yeah.
Yeah, so he can't lock anything with the orcs. It might be worth, like, if you do lock them down, maybe getting one like to where they're completely surrounded, even to their movement. And
Yeah.
their movement's like a 7 or an 8, you said, with the destroyers.
Destroyers, I believe, are. Well, I know the tomb blades are 14 inches.
Oh God, yeah, no, that's not gonna happen.
Yeah, and that's going to be tough. And destroyers are 10. So
Yeah, both those are tough.
it's.
So yeah, I do get why he's having some issues here, because if he's focusing the Doom Scythe off the gate, which you should be, then he's firing on all these guys. He can't get his boys in and lock them down. So
and if you're not going
no
first against that, you're getting shot up pretty good turn 1.
Oh yeah.
I mean, theoretically, you'll lose a good probably 500-600 points in your army after being shot by that, which is no joke for orcs. But you don't have to worry about leadership. As long as they don't snipe out your war boss with the 3d3 mortal wounds.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's I played similar to this. I had the one of the advantages of playing knights when they first came out against this, and did fairly well. The main issue is once I cleaned up most of the chaff, I had to deal with the doomsday arcs, and I didn't have anything to really deal with it besides stepping on them.
Right.
'Cause you can't shoot them because they're just gonna shrug it all off.
Right.
So you just had to
So
go stomp them.
yeah. So what would your be like? Let's say for Slanesh, you would just like charge in and just start wrecking people. I would assume, correct? With your Slanesh guys.
Yeah, I'm gonna lose a lot. Um, the I so with the stuff that like I played at the Michigan GT, I probably would have lost two, if not all three, of the Lord Discords turn one. Um, Depending on whether or not they decided to go with the uh, standard shooting of the Doomsday or the Doom size, or if they decide to use the mortal wounds. If they're using the mortal wounds, I think I'd fare better.
Yeah.
Uh,
Which I think most Necron players are going to go that way, except for really, really experienced ones. But go ahead.
yeah, because like the main thing is I have enough stuff that I can weather a potential 9 mortal wounds.
Right.
Um, and I know how to spread out against that, so I'm not getting all my characters picked on and with one volley.
Right.
But if they do their static shooting and shoot at them, there's a good chance of taking all three of my big scary dudes off the table. But I do have a bunch still to follow back with that as far as with the Slanesh. I mean, I've still got 120 demonettes. I still got 6 other characters that are fast and can run and charge. So I'm going to get into combat. And I have the contorted epitome, so it's not gonna they're not gonna run away.
Right.
Um, and that's the downfall with I think Necrons as well is you might only have 24-inch range, but that's my charge range threat, and I can get there. Actually, mine is smaller than that with a lot of it with the moving 12 to 14 and then running and then charging on top of that. I'm gonna hit combat.
Right.
Um, with like the corn list that I'm working on right now, I'd probably struggle a lot with against this list because I have nothing to deal with flyers. I'd have to rely on the resilience of my 40 possessed that I'm looking at. And I think anything that's got any kind of static shooting, you're going to do fine with. Anything with like a 3+ stave, like your standard Marines are going to do all right against Necrons right now, just because they just have better rules
Yeah.
and better units.
Yeah.
Uh,
With Dark Elder, I tend to not have too much problem because I just take one of the size out, and then all of our weapons for our disintegrator cannons and stuff like that are 2 damage, which just annihilates those Doomsday arcs.
yes,
And
yeah,
same with the lords, or the destroyers rather. I know that they're what three health.
they have 3.
Yeah, but still, even that with they still only have like a 4 up save. I'm pretty sure. So
They have a 3 up, and theoretically you can make him have a 5 up field or a 5 up invuln, but again, that's still not the best.
yeah, but you can ping them with like my splinter rifle fire, which is just a silly thing that the poison weapons are gonna
Yeah,
wreck them, but they will.
yeah, you'll eat the tomb blades because tomb blades only have 2 wounds
Yeah,
each.
so you eat the tomb blades with the dizzy cannons, and then you eat the
In yeah,
destroyers with your rifle fire. So
yeah, and
I've never struggled against Necrons with Dark Eldar in
uh,
8th. So
yeah, I think assault armies can have some issues with them,
yeah,
but if you start playing the board control, they lose a lot of their effectiveness.
yeah,
Um, you're pinpointing where the doomsday are or the doom size have to go.
hmm
You can make it so you could potentially kill them and not even do anything to them by covering the whole table.
that's kind of the one thing too. Depending on how they set up, if you can set up your orcs well as an orc player, you might be able to box out the size and make them crash.
Yes, turn one without having to do anything.
Exactly. Since they're still supersonic, so they still have to move 20 inches or die.
Yep. Yeah, yeah. I don't. Let me see what their minimum move is. There might be even
I think it's
higher.
20. It's at least 20, I think, but I could be wrong.
There. It doesn't tell me.
Yeah.
But yeah,
And that would
it's
be with orcs because you have so many models. I feel like if you could box them into one corner or whatever, and then make it because they're only doing the 90-degree turns. They're not like the Eldar ones that can do the 180s and they can do cover like the Space Marine ones. So I
yes.
feel like it potentially set up well could really box them in unless they jump
Yeah,
across the board. Like if they go, completely from corner to corner, it's going to be tougher because you won't know that obviously. But then you can box them out from there, planning ahead, for those things.
yeah.
But
Especially if your opponent misplays and lets and screws up his deployment. Yeah, and it is a 20-inch minimum move, 20 to 60 to start, and then it goes down to 25 to 20 for
yeah,
their final bracket.
that makes sense. That's what I thought.
Yeah, they're strong. Like I mean, my only issue is the same thing I feel like with Space Marines right now is there's just really only one solid way to play them, and
Yeah,
I like things with flavor. I like to be able to say, hey, I've got
versatility is a big thing too. Yeah, for
yeah,
sure.
like I mean, I want to walk up to a table and say, "Oh, I don't want to play this list right today. I want to play this one instead." And oh, I'd rather do an assault-based Necron army compared to a shooting-based army.
Yeah, and,
And I,
and the only way to do that is to talk to your opponent and say, "Hey, can we now play, cheese stick
yeah,
competitive list?" And
and
that's just,
yeah, and it gets old when you're constantly playing stuff like this nonstop. So I get it. I mean, you're going to a tournament and you're trying to win it or do
or at
well.
least do well. Yeah.
You're gonna bring lists like this,
Hmm.
but you're also gonna see a lot worse lists out there, and so that's my thing. Is I definitely think Necrons are decent. I would say they're lower mid tier than anything out of the armies that are out right now that you see playing competitive. I mean, I don't think they're the
Yeah.
low end,
No.
uh, but they're not high end in my opinion at all. I can't name the last time I saw them in the top 5 or 10 at a GT.
Right.
So you can play them local. You can play at an RTT and do just fine. Um, but yeah, I don't think you'll see until this new stuff comes out them being really really competitive.
Yeah. I agree. I think that they can do decently, and they can you can muddle through with a decent top 50% at a big tournament and stuff like that. In them, there might be one that just ends up with good draws that ends up squeaking into the top five, top 10, whatever. But that'll be the rarity rather than the rule. And typically, I think they are just more middle of the pack right now.
Yeah,
They're too easily countered by too many other armies. Like, yeah,
exactly.
I could see orcs struggling with this, but like I also see this being absolutely dominated by Eldar, dominated by almost everything in the Imperium. I don't these guys just aren't going to do that well versus many of the other armies that are out there. Chaos is going to chew them up, in my opinion. The only thing they're going to do well against is those melee armies that are forced into combat with
And
them.
and
And
knights. I think
knights,
knights.
yeah,
Yeah,
I agree.
they'll.
I agree. They are a good anti-knight list. This is a very good anti-knight list.
It's probably one of the best out right now.
Yeah, no, I,
Like
I totally agree.
you got if that's your meta at your local store and you want to win games, play Necron.
Yeah,
that's that's the
play Necrons,
that's the
slap it
hard
on the
count.
table, and they're gonna get. Yeah, you're gonna mess Knights up bad with this list. So I do agree with that entirely as well.
Because yeah, they can't kill you in their shooting phase, and they have to get to you in assault, and you've got enough to mitigate a little bit before they can really get there. Yeah, I think the only reason why I did well at Buckeye against the Necron list that I played was the I was running more armatures than knights. I was doing
Yeah, I remember those. Yeah.
it's either 6 or 9 armatures
Yep.
compared to doing big knights.
Yeah, but then that was during the night phase too.
That was yeah, that
It
was
was like
that was the first
18
tournament.
night, yeah,
Yep.
18 night lists,
Yeah, that was the first tournament
out
they
of
came out.
60. Yeah.
Yeah.
hmm I faced, God, I think in that tournament I faced 4 out of 5 were knights. The
Uh,
one was Necrons.
yeah, 3 out of my 5 games were knights.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then I had Necrons, and I don't remember what the other one was. Dark Elder. I played against the Dark Elder guy. That was fun. That was one where I had a chain explosion of Venoms and Raiders. I blew one up, and I did enough damage to the others when we sixed it. It rolled a 6, and he CP rerolled it, rolled another 6. So it exploded, blew up the next Raider. That one exploded, and then took out 2 Venoms. I was like, this is awesome.
That definitely worked out for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was playing Dark Eldar with a tiny bit of Eldar mixed in. Like I think I was just running Supreme Command 3. Um, it was a Farseer and 2 Warlocks on bikes, just to be able to run around and Doom and do all that stuff, because that was when you still could do that.
Mm-hmm.
And like Doom would affect everybody in your army, so I would just run around with the Farseer Doom, and then Jinx with the Warlocks. So Knights were, and then I was vecting the turn your shields thing. So the Knights, like I kill a Knight a turn easy,
Yep.
like Knight and a half sometimes, because it would just be like, oh, you're gonna lose 1 invulnerable, and you're not gonna be able to twist your shields, and you're not gonna be able to do your PS that you normally do to everybody else, and then I'm gonna hit you with all the good stuff that you're gonna do only invulnerables. Like I was
Yep.
running all the Ravagers and the Planes and everything just to face smash them with that, and I think I beat. I think I won all of my games, but like the one Knight Army, I beat by 1 point because he was the one running all the Forge World ones. He's the guy that ended up winning it.
Yeah,
Um,
he beat me last round.
yeah, he like he dominated everybody, whereas I squeaked by most of my games.
Yeah, he
And
he
then, but he was running.
bare
Yeah,
yeah,
there
he
was
bare
probably like $3,000 in freaking just models on the table there.
yeah, he definitely came with a power list, and his dice were on fire
Yeah,
the game that he and I played, and it was still really close, but I could not pull it out against the 2 models with 3 up invuln saves that he had going on. I'm going on. I got nothing to play against this.
yeah, yeah.
So
And yeah, that was just at the height of the silly stuff, especially with the Forge World
yeah,
Knights added into that night list. That
yeah,
was,
that was
oof,
pre
yeah,
Imperial Knight FAQ.
yeah. You could tell.
Yeah. So what do you think about these new models that are coming out for the Necrons?
Yeah, so I mean, they look freaking cool, right? Like, so I'll pop some pictures up here on the stream for anybody who may have somehow been living under a rock. But uh, like, super, like, I don't have any Necron models. I've never played Necrons. Like, Adam, my friend, plays them and everything. I really kind of am interested in just getting some just to paint them up and mess with them because they just look so cool.
They're
Um,
they're definitely baller for what they have been. I mean, even the upgraded warriors are amazing, which is they've needed for a while. But,
yeah.
I definitely think you could see an assault-based Necron army with what's coming out.
Yeah, basing on the picture for sure.
Yeah,
So
with it looks like a new type of the three-legged wraith things that people are calling them. They're all close combat, and looks like there's a lord variant of them as well in there. He looks like he's on a bigger base. He's the one that's got the gun as well.
yeah.
And there's the 2. Uh, what is that movie? The Tom Cruise movie, War of the Worlds.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah. The ones that look like the walkers from War of the Worlds.
yeah, the little weird crabby things. That
Mm-hmm.
those are gonna be neat. I'm trying to figure out what those will do. It uh, looks like one's got a doomsday cannon on it for
Mm-hmm.
sure. And I think the other one's going to be some kind of new, like, spider reanimation protocol aura thing. I'm not sure because it doesn't look like it has weapons on it at all besides a couple tentacles. Um,
Yeah.
Not sure what the new larger scarab looking warrior dudes are with the uh, weird scything claws. They're kind of neat. Um, You're a little curious about the uh, pieces of terrain that were previewed.
Yep.
Looks like there's two different ones. Those kind of got snuck in there. There's two of them by the Silent King in one of the pictures, and then there's like a triangle-esque one in the background that you can see that is definitely they're definitely going to be part of the game.
Right.
Just don't know how they're going to be part of it yet. The new monolith is sharp. Really like what they did with the monolith and got rid of that goofy crystal on top of it. Went more with an orb.
Yeah, it was looking pretty weird.
Yeah, and you see the inside of it's got all the lightning fields too.
Yeah.
That's pretty neat. Still trying to figure out what Satan we're getting. But my assumption is there's two of them that it could be, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
One of the rumors going on line right now is one that the Silent King has. Basically, it's one that he imprisoned into a shard back with the first founding, and he ended up entombing him when he went to rest. And I'm not convinced that's who it is. It starts with a K. Kalugara.
Okay.
I honestly think that's the Satan shard that's behind the Silent King on his throne.
So I'm gonna make this really big if you want to look at the stream thing there. And then it's gonna be a slideshow so we can see as it kind of comes across to see the models as well.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
yeah,
like
I'm
that, like the guy that's up there right now, like that guy just looks ridiculous with his like treads and stuff. I really do like the way, and those are the destroyers or whatever, right? That's what the new ones are gonna look like.
the ones in the lower left corner of that big picture. Yes, I think those are a new type of destroyer. I don't know if because I think we got like a 30-second delay on the
Yeah.
stream.
Well,
Yeah,
I'm looking at it here, so
yeah, that dude I think is going to be the new destroyer. I think he's got a Terminator-esque feel to him.
yeah, yeah, for
Uh,
sure.
but yeah, and then there's the little minions just to the right of them. I'm not sure what those are. Those are the guys I was talking, like the Scarab Tops. Um, the people are thinking it's going to be either some kind of extra reanimation protocol roll, or to help improve like reroll ones, or theoretically a servitor type dude. And I'm not
And
sure.
that's the C10 you're talking about right there, right?
Yeah, the one with the big wings.
Yeah, I mean
Yeah.
that thing just looks so cool. Like
My
the lightning coming out of it and stuff,
yeah,
and
my personal feeling on it is it's going to be Void Dragon. Um, Void Dragon is been talked about several times in the codexes, and he's the way they painted him fits Void Dragon's theme as far as being a silver body, having a dragon-ish type tail, and long spiny wings.
mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think of the best way to describe them. Pillar-esque type wings.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what that model is showing me. And if that's the case, it's going to be pretty neat because he is the most powerful shard that was captured. So the only one that surpassed him was Nightbringer, and that was when Nightbringer had his warp scythe, and that got lost. So the scythe that Nightbringer is carrying right now is not his warp scythe. So
Gotcha.
yeah, it's going to be neat to see rules of that guy. I'm excited to see how this is going to change the meta, how with the new close combat, seeing a close combat variant Necron army.
Yeah, I really hope that they improve close combat to actually be like at least as viable as shooting to an extent. Because right now it's just so okay.
It's
You have to
yeah,
have it
it's
very specifically tailored to like I love melee armies. It's always been my thing too, and I know you feel the same way. Um, I love playing my, witch lists and stuff like that, getting in there and being able to do crazy stuff in melee. I always thought that that was a really neat concept. I get, you know, future war, blah blah blah, lots of guns, all that. But I do like the nitty gritty of being able to have those, crazy freaking, um, you know, units that are just running across the board, dying off as they go, and but are still effective. Like right now, I just feel
Yeah,
like any kind of melee you're running right now, you have to either specifically tailored for a certain way, and even then, it doesn't work so good, right? Like it's like, oh, okay, that worked okay. Um, so I think that there are very few melee lists that are very strong at the moment
yeah.
or competitive.
I agree that melee is not nearly as competitive as shooting by any means. I think it requires a to do a full melee army requires a very well trained general running it
Hmm.
or player.
Yeah.
There's a lot of thought into it. You theoretically that you make or break that during deployment on whether or not you're going to do how well you're going to do during the game. Is whether or not you deployed right.
Yep.
Um, yeah, you're going to lose a lot to shooting, but when you hit, you're going to hit hard. But being able to mitigate but if you're also going against somebody who knows what they're doing, it can be really tough. You've really got to pull all your tools together to make the toolbox work.
And sometimes I think you're just gonna get RNG'd out of it, right? Like there's gonna be bad setups, there's gonna be bad stuff going on that just I don't think I don't think melee armies recover as easily from something went wrong as the shooting armies do. You know,
No,
like
100% agree with that.
and I don't think that they get enough of an advantage to make up for that fact, right? Like I don't think they get an advantage really at all at this point, but I don't think that they make enough of a boost to cover the fact that they kind of have a fairly large negative of having to get up in your face,
Yeah,
and these rules of the more and more they especially what kind of pissed me off a little bit about like the new previews was like, oh, we're gonna make it so tanks can't be locked in combat, and I agree, it was a silly rule that didn't make a whole lot of sense. That the tank
yeah,
could be locked in and not be able to shoot and stuff, but it was like the one check that melee armies could do to a parking lot was force guys into close combat with you.
yeah.
So
I think
I hope they
I
mitigate
think
that
that
better in some other way.
yeah, I think they're going to. My guess is either so the whole thing with what they were saying is either being able to move out of combat or shoot into combat that you're in.
Hmm.
It's going to probably be something similar like the Forge roll, uh, immobile vehicles where they can shoot in as well,
Hmm.
but they can only shoot at the units that are engaged with them. So
Yeah,
they're not going to be able to just lob shots off still in the background and shooting things up, but still that it
big
hurts.
nerf.
I mean, we're already talking an art, a game that benefits shooting, and this does it even more. You
Right,
know,
and that's my point. I think that I think
yeah,
that hurts melee even more. That we're already looking at a hurt
yeah,
melee meta.
it's yeah. The only good thing I see coming out of it doing that way is going to be stuff like you're going to see rhino rushes again. People are just going to
Yeah.
fill a bunch of rhinos up, throw them at you. You don't blow them up. All right, I'm moving away and I'm getting dudes out or
Right.
whatnot. Um, but even then, I don't know if you're going to be allowed to move and get stuff out or how the movement's going to work. And I think we're up for some changes. I think they're going to be mostly good. I think it's going to still favor more shooting than anything, and just because there's not enough reliable or resilient units out there to maintain or to keep shooting armies in check.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I think that I think with 40K, no matter what, you're gonna have a shooting dominance, right? And then if you really want to play a melee game, go play Age of Sigmar. What I think Games Workshop's theory on it is, which is
yeah,
reasonable. I don't have an issue with that, but I also have an issue with any portion of the game that's just completely eliminated. Like, don't bother playing this.
yes,
And like I think everything should be viable to some small extent, not necessarily on a competitive scene even, but just viable in general. And right now, I feel like the more they nerf the melee, the tougher it's going to be to play things like witches or melee type armies where you're squishy and you're getting in there, but now you're giving us away, getting them ways to get out of it, getting ways to shoot more. The fly rule already eliminated, the being able to stop them from shooting. So, people switched over a lot more stuff like that. Like a great example is the Necron list right there. That okay, so I'm just gonna make everything that flies.
Yep. Yeah, there'll be, with the new rules coming out, the whole getting off the table with flyers is going to be interesting. So that's what it was in seventh. You were able to just leave the table.
Yep.
Um, I believe it was also in sixth, where if you had uh, units with the bombs or the bomb ability that you could only use once per game, if you left the table, you got to do it again.
Oh yeah, that'd be silly.
So that's kind of interesting to see because a lot of those bombs right now are nothing but mortal wound output.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, if you're able to do it three times, that's big.
Oh yeah.
And that's some of those bombs are up to 30 dice. Like the Tyranid one is up to 30 dice on the.
Yeah. They're
Oh,
heavy hitter. So, yeah, I mean, like just looking at the Dark Elder one, it's 3 up mortals, 10 dice.
yeah,
So I typically get 7 or 8 mortals out of the strafing run, and you're
yeah.
wiping out
That's
most of a unit. And hilariously, like I have had it get me out of close combat with stuff too. Like so, my guys got surrounded, and okay, I'm just gonna bomb that unit, and then that happens during the movement phase, and then these guys are gonna move out afterwards.
yeah.
Things like
We're
that
safe.
happen. So
Yeah. Yeah, that and I mean, like we're talking competitive Necron here, and you kill 7 Necrons. That's a failed leadership check,
yeah,
practically. Like it almost guaranteed. You're
pretty
down to
much.
50-50 chance, and you haven't even shot anything at them yet.
Yeah.
So yeah, it can be brutal for some of these armies,
Hmm.
especially if you get the chance to do it multiple times.
Yeah, but they're definitely gonna change the meta. I'm hoping that they really do. It seems like they've started to listen more to the playtesters a bit. As
Yep.
they have progressed through eighth, like initially, I feel like they did initially with the indexes. Then they went on a rampage. Like we have to sell more books, sell more models. So we're gonna go crazy with the few codexes. Then they kind of settled down a little bit and started listening as they had to FAQ everything a week or 2 weeks after it came out to constantly nerf bat them. Now that still happens, obviously, but I think that they have at least somewhat
Yeah,
addressed
they
those things with their big FAQ checks, like the boots on the ground and those things.
yeah, and I think with pulling in some of these guys from they just hired what was his name, Brandon Grant from Nova.
Hmm.
Uh, that's a huge move for them. He
Oh yeah.
knows missions and knows how to design appropriate missions. So we're going to see I think, a lot better mission layout as far as the 6 to 9 core rulebook missions that we have. Um, I think we're going to see a lot more leaning towards grabbing objectives and throughout the game instead of just the end of the game.
Hmm.
It's going to be some dynamic changes as far as missions. And I think that's where we're going to see most of the change. Um, and I think we're going to see a little bit of minor changes throughout some of the core rules as far as your psychic phase, your setup and movement, and I mean we've already seen a little bit of the setup change, even with the rule book or the big rule book to chapter proof 19, where the all the missions there are almost all uh, attacker defender. I set up, you set up to counter,
Yeah.
and so but I'm guaranteed to go first unless you happen to seize. So
Right.
there's those are going to be some interesting changes. I think all of it is going to be for the best of the game. I think a lot of the psychic awakening stuff that's coming out and is continuing to come out. I mean, even the one of them goes on pre-order next week. The uh, AdMech and Imperial Knight, Chaos Knight, and Demon one. Um, at least for what they just put up a picture and had the 2 pages of that's going to be in there as far as the context. And it looks like we're Chaos's demons are getting some love. It doesn't look like a lot, um, but it looks like they're getting exalted greater demons, which I don't know if those are the Forge World ones or if they're getting new rules for them or if they're putting them into the game. similar to uh, what they had in their last codex of demons, where they had lesser, greater, and exalted gifts, where you might have a better weapon on somebody, or more wounds, or whatnot, or a better save. So it's gonna be curious to see where they go with that. Um, and I'm excited to see some new stratagems and love thrown into all four of those armies.
Yeah, I mean, I always like to see armies get a little bit of boost here and there, as long as it's just unbalanced things. So I think that they'll hopefully do
Yeah,
well.
the Psychic Awakening seems to be bringing everybody back to an even playing field going into ninth. That's kind of what I thought they were doing when Psychic Awakening first came out.
Yeah.
I mean, their GW's been pretty consistent with, okay, we're going to a new game or a new rule set. We're gonna have a end of times codex release. They did it in seventh edition with the uh, the Eldar
Yeah,
factions,
the Inari
and
should come
yeah,
out. So
yeah, and the the Black Guardians, the Uthway Strike Force, and all that came out then.
right,
And sadly, Uthway went away pretty quick with that. But
right.
yeah, so that's what they're doing now. I think they're just getting everybody back to par and as close to even as they possibly can before this big hit takes place.
Yep.
I'm anticipating we're going to see some of the Necron stuff coming out with their book. Then we're going to see another set of it come out with the new rules. I think the is ninth edition.
They're going to be the box set, right? So
It looks like they're going to
it's
be the box set with the new Primaris Marines with being on bikes and all that, and which there's some good looking models in there too. I think I'm a little sad that the bikes aren't bigger for the Primaris Marines because they look a little too small for them.
Right.
They don't seem to sit on the bike right, in my opinion. But I'm not a designer. I just critique.
Right. It'll be interesting. It will be good to see Necrons get a kind of some love. And obviously they still stick with their bread and butter though. Space Marines always, Space Marines on Space Marines with Space Marines.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
which
You'll see them.
you gotta get the money.
Yep. Yeah. Well, that's like the go-to. So everybody enjoys playing nostalgia, and that's what those things are.
No question.
So, yeah, I think we're going to see some positive things. I know there's a GW Q&A tomorrow. I'm not sure exactly what time it is. I think it usually starts between 9 and 10 o'clock our time.
See if I can bring it up real quick.
But yeah, I think they're like 3 hours behind us or ahead of us or whatever.
So the UK is 5 hours ahead of us.
Okay. Yeah, that's going to be interesting because I think they're doing a Q&A basically just off of what to expect ninth edition is going to be, what are some of the changes we're going to see, as well as potentially leaks of some of the rules for the new Necron models and Primaris and any of it, actually. I mean, we've got all sorts of new models coming out, and that's what they're telling us, is that each faction is going to get some new models. So that was leaked Saturday. That's the plan, is everybody's getting some new love.
Yeah, I'm not seeing a release time. I'm sure there's somewhere, but not anything easy to find.
Okay. Keep an eye on it. I'm sure it'll be on Facebook for everybody to watch.
Yeah, they'll start popping up probably right before they go live, and people will
Yep.
start losing it. And I'm sure they'll have reruns of it for those.
Yeah, you've got to subscribe to. Yeah, you've got to subscribe to them to watch their reruns, but it's worth it.
Easy enough.
Yep. But cool. Yeah, I think that's it. That's all I got.
Yeah, me too. Thanks everybody for watching. If you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you give us a nice little subscribe and all that good stuff. Watching us on Twitch and everything, feel free to do that as well. We really appreciate everybody coming out, giving us a view here. Hope you learned a little bit more about Necrons and what's coming. And we'll do another Necron release update after they come out. We get a little fresh look at them, and obviously Eric's gonna be playing them. So
yeah, as soon as I get that book, as soon as I get that book in my hand, we'll do a stream on it. Yeah, we'll do a stream that next Monday. So awesome! Thank you, everyone.
So our next competitive corner is going to be next Monday, same time, same
Yeah.
place,
Anything that
same
you
bad
guys,
channel. And
yeah,
then this coming Friday, they're doing a lore show, and then Saturday, of course, we have our hobby time with 4
hobby.
new
Yep.
guests on there. Then, so cool.
Yeah.
You guys have a great day. Thanks for watching. Have a good one.
Thank you. Bye.